Hello everyone and welcome to the chassis variant series. We're up to the Atlas, potentially the last of them until I get around to the Thanatos and Hellspawn, that is. But this is the last of the 100 tonners, the last of the AS7-S, and we're starting this off with the Glorious Domination. Yes, it's the second Glorious Domination mini-series as part of the chassis variant series, which may be a bit of a giveaway if you remember the awesome videos. So, the first Atlas that that was on the list really, is the Atlas S variant, or the AS7-S. This was a variant that came out actually during the fedcom civil war between the Federated Sons and Lyran Alliance, or as you may know them, House Steiner and House Davion. This model was a bit of an odd one actually, although on the tabletop it makes a lot of sense. In MechWarrior Online it wouldn't make much sense. Basically the mech removed some of its heat sinks to upgrade the rest to doubles, and the heat produced wasn't too bad. So they didn't have to worry about the extra heat sinks, but they used the freed up weight to add 2 Streak 2 launchers. The problem is that, yes, they're on the front of the mech normally. The result in this one is that they're on the back. In tabletop it had 2 rear firing Streak launchers, which meant that the mech could obviously target any vehicles or battle armour, or any other light mechs that decided to attack it from behind. It's actually quite a good piece of protective weaponry on tabletop in that regards, but in MechWarrior Online obviously this wouldn't make much sense or have much use, as you'd have to have some kind of picture-in-picture camera and all that stuff. MechWarrior, you'd be surprised actually the number of mechs that do come with rear-firing weapons that MechWarrior Online will switch to the front instead, which is usually a good opportunity for me to remove certain weapons and use them that way. In this case I didn't with the Streak 2s because they were quite useful. They are part of the mech anyway. So, the AS7-S is a pretty bloody good mech, but then I think all the Atlases are pretty damn good. If we have a look at its stats on Smurfy, it comes with an energy in the left arm. It's got 4 energy, so 1 in each arm and 2 in the centre torso, ballistic in the right, and 4 missile in the left. It's the most missile heavy of the Atlas designs currently in the game, which means it's potentially useful as a LRM version, although I know some people absolutely loathe and despise an LRM Atlas. Personally, take what you want. I don't really care. I don't judge anybody for what they want to build on their mech. For me personally, I prefer to use them stock, but if someone wants to use them, use such and such a design with all machine guns or all lasers, or they want to focus on all missiles, you go for it. So yeah, this is probably one that you see as the LRM Atlas. I know a lot of people, personally with me, I've experienced a lot of people joking about this design. I can see why the missile heavy load can produce basically a walking heavily armoured missile platform that can do shitloads of damage and take shitloads of damage. So that's one of the cool things about the Atlas, is that it has a phenomenal amount of armour and really, really good staying power. Obviously it's quirked to have extra bonus armour and with skills, which I think I had to buy this fresh because I haven't had to run Atlas for, it's got to be 2 years at least. I've always had the D variant, but the S and the K and the RS and all that for this series, I haven't run one of them for a very long time. So yeah, it was kind of different getting back into an Atlas, and they are surprisingly resistant. Although it almost feels like they have a quirk where right torso will explode immediately. It does feel like that, as everybody now is just kind of pre-programmed to just shoot the right torso, because all Atlas have come with an AC-20 or an AC-10 in that side torso. So yeah, blow it off and you're good. Obviously it suffers from having lower energy weapons because its arms are quite low slung and its CT weapons are low down. You have to expose a hell of a lot of them to use any of the energy hardpoints properly. But I don't know, you can play an Atlas in virtually any kind of role for an assault. It can be a front-up bruiser, it can be a long-range support, it can be an LRM mech, it can be an energy mech, it can be a ballistics mech. It can run any kind of playstyle you want, sacrifice the speed of course. But yeah, it's still surprisingly good mech. A lot of these streaks are coming into effect now. I think at some point here we may have lost or are about to lose MechWarrior Elvis Presley, which had me and the bro laughing a lot. We were joking about what kind of decals he could have, or sorry Russ, decals he could have on his mech. He could have "Return to Sender" written on his LRM, stuff like that. That'd be fucking awesome, wouldn't it? You just imagine like a lineup of all these MechWarriors, and then like he comes across the line and there's like Elvis Presley MechWarrior there, his fucking jumpsuit open at the top, big massive quiff hair and all. It'd be fucking stunning. But yeah, anyway, that aside, it's a really cool mech. Now, interesting thing about the S version is that it was actually after the FedCom Civil War, versions of this mech ceased to be built by either side. The last remaining examples of them were just used for garrison forces on the Lyran worlds and the Davion worlds that still had them. And some of the strange things is obviously there's all these little bits of quirky weaponry and missile types. So, for instance, there was precise or precision ammunition which was used, and that was for autocannons, which is an interesting thing. Obviously, it basically gives you a slight bonus to hit on tabletop, so I'm not quite sure if PGI could ever use precision ammunition, while the Steiner forces used a different type of LRM ammunition types, which we could have in game, Thunder LRMs being an example of this. Thunder LRMs basically is like a kind of micro munitions launcher, so it goes up and just completely saturates an area with smaller munitions. I don't know, I guess for some players that would be a living hell. I'm guessing optimization wise that would be a hell of a lot of frame rate lag for some players as soon as they introduce some kind of LRM thing that goes up in the air and just drops shitloads of tiny munitions. I'd be interested in seeing it just to see what would happen. But we're getting near to the end of this one. I would recommend the Atlas, but then I'd recommend any of the Atlas versions. This is already a ringing endorsement for this design. If you haven't used it, which I'd be surprised about, give it a go. They're expensive, sure, but they are a damn good mech. They are a hell of a lot of fun. And will you be focused? Yes, of course you'll be focused, but that's the same with any 100-ton mech. You're a huge threat. But it's a lot of fun. So, thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good week, and I'll see you all in the next chassis series video. So, bye!